That's
So you're shaking your arms around?
Well, I wasn't so much throwing them around as trying to grab my friend's bottom firmly.
Ooh, this is getting ugly.
Well, it's just a friendly thing, and you need something to keep the spirits up.
Yeah.
But a new girl had just started, and from the back she did look a lot like my friend. So I grabbed these alien buttocks by accident.
Alien buttocks.
She turned round and instead of saying I'm sorry, I said I'm Sammy. So now she thinks some sort
that's
of
how you introduced yourself to people.
And she gave me a white birth, so I'm a bit worried that I might get a call during the week from some sort of
That's amazing. It's nice that you've stumbled across a possible band name, though, Alien Buttocks. But that's no way to introduce yourself to a lady. Believe me.
Well, I did show a monkey me bum this week, and I got respect from that.
Okay, hang on. Let's get an opinion from Jingles, then let's come back to you showing a monkey.
How am I meant to follow this? How am I meant to follow that?
Give us a quick opinion of Moz.
I think I have a lot of respect for him, but I think what he needs is the Johnny Cash, Neil Diamond treatment, which is you get in someone else, a new producer, you actually do something that pushes you a little harder than before, and actually you give us something different. And of course he's a legend, but it does sound like every other Morrissey track.
You, of course, famously are not a meat eater like him, despite what people may have heard. Do you think his veganism is a problem? Is that one of the reasons that he's looking so old, according to Dan?
My father-in-law said, I never know what to buy James for Christmas because he's a vegetarian, isn't he? And all I can buy is like vegetarian cookery books. And I don't have to buy me a vegetarian cookery book.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's a problem.
I have the same problem. Very quick analysis.
He's turning into Rufus Wainwright, sounds to me, and that can only be a good thing. So give the man a sequin jacket and a kiss on the cheek, and pat him on the bottom as he goes on stage.
Absolutely, and introduce yourself at the same time. So have you got time? We've got very little time for the monkey being shown your bum.
Apparently, it's a sign of respect. I went to Trotter's World of Animals. I was getting on well with this monkey, showed it my bottom, and I really did get some level of respect for that, and we became quite good friends. I'm going to go back and see it in the summertime.
Pen pals?
I'm hoping if monkeys develop that skill that we will be pen pals.
Stuart McConey's next. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening. Bye. The Ramones doing their version of the Spider-Man theme tune, and yes, hello, welcome to the Steve Show with me, Stephen Merchant, on BBC Six Music, and let's have a little round of applause just to keep us woke up in good energy. We're already infuriating tens of thousands of listeners there with our good-natured round of applause. We, Harry and I, been exploring some of the BBC's message boards. Yeah, just for our own amusement, and it is fun, and it's interesting because obviously, with the BBC having been very much in the news of late, people obviously very furious about Rossi. Jonathan Ross returned. Rossi returned to both TV and the radio this week. I was looking at the coverage. I was reading in the Observer this morning, and they gave a very glowing review of his return to Radio 2 yesterday. A very positive review. Said it was charming to have him back, and he was in good form. It was a fun 3 hours. News of the World. Very different opinion. Ross, new radio sex slur. And they are absolutely up in arms. And it's interesting, I don't know whether, I guess presumably the Observer and the News of the World both listening to the same programme, but clearly the News of the World listening much more closely to the Observer, because they are furious. And amazingly, it would seem that the Tory culture chief, David Blunkett, the ex-Home Secretary, Media Watch Director John Baer, they've been straight on the phone to the News of the World as well with their opinions. Anyone who thinks that they were called at, say, 1 in the morning last night for an opinion, no. These guys, furious, they were listening, they've instantly phoned up the News of the World. There's an argument that says the Tory culture chief that the BBC should not employ him. They even spoke to just a regular listener who said, where is it? Let's see who the guy is. Yeah, it's a bloke called Nigel Langston from Leamington in Warwick.
Langers.
And Langer's just the average BBC listener, and he's furious. Not only does he think Ross should be kicked off the air, but the BBC is totally out of control. It's out of control. They've no idea how much offence they're causing. Ross is a time bomb waiting to go off, which seems confusing. I'm presuming he's already gone off, as he's so infuriated, Langers. But apparently the BBC, of which we are members now, out of control. This very discussion now, out of control.
Well, it's disgusting and obscene. Well, did they pick anything out of the show yesterday, or just
Yes,
general-
the full vile transcript is here. Obviously, I'm not going to read it for you,
Well,
Harry.
no.
I'll let you read it for yourself.
People
But
would be upset all over again.
But Ross made an amusing quip
Oh, no.
that some would see as merely irreverent and harmless, but not the News of the World, the moral conscience of this great nation. And interestingly, the News of the World, I was also looking through the Sunday Times. Amazingly, Sunday Times, very similar view to the News of the World. A much more moderate, broadsheet approach, many of the same quotes, interestingly. And they said that many of the newspapers last night were already reporting this, which rather confuses me. I don't know how the Sunday Times is able to report on last night's newspapers. I don't know what newspapers were out last night. Some kind of twilight press that I'm not aware of.
It's confusing.
And if they mean the reports of today's Sunday papers that they read last night, how did they have time to get the Sunday Times out with reference to that? It's all very confusing. Some would say perhaps there's already a Murdoch agenda at work, maybe that was already agreed on. I'm not going to say that because I don't know what I'm talking about. It is out of control. But just sorry to apologise straight away to everyone who was offended by Ross's vile outrage. I, as I say, I didn't pick up on it. I listened all 3 hours. I didn't hear anything. But this once again, my mind's so sullied am I by working at the BBC as I walk around this veritable Sodom and Gomorrah.
Yeah.
Look, let's take you behind the curtain right now. There are orgies going on. I saw some biscuits upstairs. Who's been eating those?
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not just the outright filth that's going on, it's the potential for that filth to happen at some point in the future.
Any moment during today, being as we are out of control, at any moment I could say something vile and outrageous. Luckily, because no one from the News of the World thinks they can sell papers by referring to this show, we're probably under the radar.
No,
guys, we're probably under the radar. But I'll tell you, if Ken Bruce gets his wang around at any point, I'll tell you, the BBC is going to crumble. Anyway, so we were wandering around on the because obviously, if you wish to have your voice heard, there are lots of ways that the BBC will allow you to do that. There's websites and things you can go on. You can get your points across. But we'll dip into some of those after we've heard from editors. Apologies straight away for some of the filth there from the editors. You came on your own. What are they talking about? Some kind of vile personal act. Disgusting. Typical editors. I apologise instantly for playing that song.
Yeah, we've got a slight issue as well, Steve.
Go on.
Turns out the main man in the editors, Tom Smith, he's had a baby with Edith Bowman.
Hang on, Bowman, doesn't she work for the BBC?
Works for the BBC. Was this song planted by BBC execs?
Oh, you see what to promote her.
Yes,
her lover. Are they married? They have a child, but they're not married.
Yeah, as I understand it.
Oh, vile BBC.
Edgy.
We're out of control. We're absolutely out of control. My apologies. Listen, we're going to do everything we can to make amends for some of the filth that your poor earlobes have had to contend with over recent months. Once again, Rossi out of control. You just read the News and Report's description of the vile conversation.
Well, I've just come round. I felt quite faint.
Of course you did.
after reading
Lie
it.
down.
Just astonishing muck, filth, and depravity.
Yeah. Although again, if you read the Observer or some of the other papers, apparently they didn't notice it. We were wandering around because, as I say, the BBC has many outlets for your opinions.
Yeah, that's one of the great things about the BBC. It's all about interactivity, and obviously the listeners pay for us. They're paying our wages. They've got every right to say what they think.
Damn right.
Yeah. So the points of view message board is quite an active message.
This
board.
is linked in with the TV points of view. Is it hosted by Wogan? No, it's what's her name now, isn't it? Anne Robinson.
It's Anne Robinson, I think.
Merchant, uninformed as the current presenter of POV. Yeah. Dear BBC, dear points of view, I couldn't help but hear Merchant talking about points of view.
Spinning Wreath. You see what he's done
Spinning
there?
Wreath, Lord Wreath, the reference to Lord Wreath.
Yeah, is the name of the blogger here. Having just moved to Devon, I thought I'd find out what the local BBC radio offering was like. I managed about 10 minutes of the X show. I won't criticise.
Okay.
It's a closed shop
Right,
here.
exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Well, this is not a show called the X Show because that sounds filthy.
That sounds
right
edgy in
away.
itself. I managed about 10 minutes of this show with one of the most patronising items I've ever heard. She even called her listeners children. There was an item on bananas, which was lame, lax, and lazy. No science, no checks on detail, and a dire co-presenter who nods agreement and ho-hums. The producer of another item on canals had a script written by 5-year-olds 12-year-olds. The producers should really start thinking a little harder. I know the BBC is in a talent crisis after getting rid of most of the brains years back, but surely but surely we could employ better than this. Radio graduates, perhaps.
But there was an item on bananas that was ill-informed and had no scientific grounding. What the hell could that item have been?
If people are talking about bananas, I want to know the absolute core detail, the nitty-gritty. I want to go back to basics. I want to learn everything about bananas in a 2-minute light-hearted feature on
Hi,
Radio
you're listening to
Devon.
Radio Devon. What's your favourite fruit? Bananas. There's no scientific backing. Is this the nation's favourite fruit? Get in touch. And there was something about canal. This sounds like a lovely, charming show. How could you be riled about a show that has items on canals and bananas? How could you get so up in arms? Well, there are many of them. There's one here that says, when a presenter goes missing for whatever reason, often the listener is not told why, but the replacement insists in saying that they're sitting in for the regular presenter. After a while, I get tired of being told that. Furious. Steve Merchant show here. I'm not sitting for anyone. It is my show. But apologies for mentioning that. They're going to have this next one's going to have a go at me there. I noticed presenters, especially on the Today programme, mumble a lot. I wonder if the presenters ever listen to the programme when they're not at work, as it seems strange they don't notice. A follow-up blogger has written, I don't think they listen, no. They just return home with a smug, complacent air of a job well done. Once again, John Humphreys did a good job today. I watched him as he left the BBC, he was smug and complacent, patting himself on the back. Literally patting himself on the back.
Dear.
But, we're very concerned that you, the listeners, are being constantly disappointed. By the way, someone else in the follow-up to that story says, I'll nail my colours to the mast and say that my favourite broadcasters are Charlotte Green, Laurie Taylor and Roger Bolton. And nailing their colours to the mast there. Controversial views they're not willing to share with the nation. So we're thinking really that what's the best way for us on the Steve Show to cater to you, the listeners. And we decided that we would like to try and be everything to everybody on today's programme. Whatever you want from this programme, we will provide. Even if it contradicts what other listeners want, we are going to give it to you because it's your BBC. No longer are we willing to put up with the filth and outrage that you've been spotting. What do you want from this programme? What conversation topics do you want? Presumably already the boards, I imagine, are ablaze. We don't want you to talk, we just want you to play music. So we're going to talk about stuff for those that want us to talk. We're going to just play music for those that just want to hear music. But yes, you can get in touch. Maybe you've got an idea for an amusing radio feature that you'd love to hear us talk about. It's your BBC. Naturally, you can get in touch.
Text us on 64046 or email stephen.sixmusic@bbc.co.uk.
Some feedback already, Steve, from Michael, who's emailed in. Do us a favour, don't assume your listeners are all Ross fans. I can't stand the expletive deleted.
Whoa! So he himself as foul-mouthed as Rossi himself. But maybe you'd have thought they'd have gone on like a house on fire, but clearly not. Well, I apologise to, do we know who that guy's name was?
Yeah, it was Michael.
Michael, I apologise sincerely. I would not for one moment presume that you're a fan of Jonathan Ross. Why not get in touch? Let us know who you are a fan of, and we will make every effort to make this show exactly like that one. Hey, listen, Michael, if you love new music, you might enjoy this, but if you hate new music, you won't. So maybe switch over and come back when I've finished playing this new music. Performing live for George Lamb on Wednesday in the Hub on Six Music. That is the first single from California's Delta Spirit, which is released towards the end of February. And that's Trash Can. Steve Show, Six Music with me, Steve Merchant, and my little gang here. I didn't even have the courtesy to introduce you guys. I was watching a programme last night about the great Wall Street crash. My mind instantly wandered to you, Harry, and your filthy banking elite.
Yeah.
You're part of, I presume, the New World Order.
Absolutely. Well, it used to be the New World Order. We used to run everything. Now we run nothing.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what you do. You run into the ground. Satire. Once again, the fat cat slammed. But if you are a fat cat, my apologies for trying